Hello, I thought I'd try something different. um, yeah, I have this goofy mirror effect. Wow, it really makes my. This is kind of fun. It's like, is that my good side or my bad side? I don't know. The reason why I did that actually is because I'm reading I'm reading this book. Wait, hold on a second here. Ah, how nice. I can just make it appear. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try narrating, and I decided. God, I look weird. Um, I decided to try reading this book, and it's called Uncle Whip and His Friends, and it's not very good, but I just want to see if I can hack reading something. So okay, wait. Why don't I make it so my boobs stick out? All right, there we go. And I'll read The Golden Goblet. All right. Oh my god, my boobs really don't look that weird. Right there, that's kind of nice. All right, here we go. One morning, when the family in Castle Broadcast were having, okay, that's probably better. Were having their favorite breakfast of hummingbird's wing on toasted cobwebs, and everyone was feeling jolly and talkative, the conversation somehow or other got around to beautiful princesses. The black-browed pirate said he did wish that sometimes they would marry the sensible prince instead of the handsome one. Of course, the frowny fairy godmother said sometimes they did, and when they didn't believe her, she said, "Just you wait and see, I'll show you one." So right after breakfast, she ran down the 351 and a half steps, not forgetting to hop carefully over that half step in the middle of the staircase, and went to the christening of the baby princess. And because she was godmother to the baby, she took a gift to her, which was a beautiful goblet. When she presented the gift, she made the prophecy that the princess would marry the man who would fill the golden goblet to the brim with water that fell from the great fountain in the middle of the courtyard. I guess that's not so bad so far. Ah, sorry. Ah. When the little princess grew up, she was the most beautiful princess in the world. Her hair was long and black and glossy. Her eyes were as blue as the bluest sapphire that ever graced the crown of a king, and her cheeks were red as the apple that always hung from the tip-top branch of a red apple tree. Of course, the fame of her beauty went abroad in the land, and the king, who had a proper respect for the prophecy of the frowny fairy godmother, issued a proclamation that he would give the hand of his daughter to the prince who could fill the golden goblet from the water that fell from the fountain in the center of the courtyard. Then there were so many applicants that the line stretched out the castle gates, and as far down the road as the eye could see. Now the fountain in the very center of the courtyard was a very large one. It spouted water as high as the castle itself, and fell into a foaming, churning pool at the foot, and in that pool beautiful gold fish swam about. It would seem an easy thing to fill the golden goblet from the water that fell from the fountain, but the truth is that it fell from the great height with such force that it bounced the water right out of the goblet as soon as it was filled. It seemed like such an easy thing to do that each prince in turn was perfectly sure that he could fill the golden goblet. But one after another tried and failed. At last there were but two left. After trying to fill the goblet and finding themselves unsuccessful, they both did the same thing. They sat down on the edge of the churning pool about the fountain to think. While they were sitting there thinking, the most beautiful princess in the world was peeking out at them from behind the long velvet curtains that hung at one of the castle windows. One prince was very handsome. He was clothed from head to foot in golden armor, which sparkled with jewels. He wore a long white velvet cloak about his shoulders, and was very grand indeed. But when he frowned and looked up at the castle windows, the princess did not like his looks at all, for he looked cold and proud and haughty, as if he might be very disagreeable when he was angry. The other prince who sat at the edge of the pool to think was not handsome at all. He was clad from head to foot in a suit of soft green leather, the color of the dark forest itself, and he hadn't a bit of a jewel about him, but pinned to his little leather cap was a long red feather, and when he turned to look at the castle windows, he had a nice warm crinkly smile, and the most beautiful princess in the world knew that this was the man she would like to marry. Okay, how's that? Okay, 6 minutes. Well, the handsome glittery prince all of a sudden got up and shook himself, and said in a very brisk voice, "It can be done, and I am going to do it. If the water could be made to stop for only a minute, I could fill the golden goblet to the brim. Hey, fellow," he said, shouting to a court attendant, "bring the chief engineer." When the chief engineer was brought, he ordered him to turn the water off at once so he could fill the golden goblet. But the man shook his head and told the glittering prince that the fountain was fed by a spring high up on the top of a mountain, and that no one had ever been able to stop it. It had been running like that as far back as the oldest man in the kingdom could remember. "Well then," said the glittery prince, I will mount my snow white charger and ride up to the top of the mountain and stop the spring." So he mounted his snow-white charger and rode out of the castle gates in the direction of the high mountain. All the time he was doing this, the nice prince with a warm, crinkly smile sat on the edge of the fountain in the sun and thought and thought. "Oh dear!" cried the most beautiful princess in the world from behind the velvet curtains. "Why doesn't he get up and do something? That glittery princess will succeed in turning the water off, and then he will fill the golden goblet as the water runs slowly. I will have to marry him, and I don't want to at all. I want to marry the prince with the warm, crinkly smile and the red feather in his cap." Pretty soon, the handsome glittery prince on his snow-white charger came running up into the courtyard and stopped at the edge of the fountain. "What, you still here, fellow?" he exclaimed to the prince with a warm, crinkly smile. "You had better go on home, for I'm about to stop the water in the fountain, and when it runs slowly, I will fill the golden goblet and marry the princess." But the other prince went on thinking and didn't say a word. "Hey there!" shouted the glittery prince. "Bring me a pick and a shovel." When they were brought, he explained, "I found the mountain too high to climb today, so I will just dig in the ground until I find the water. Then I will throw heavy rocks down in the hole till the water is dammed, and then I will fill the golden goblet easily." So he took the pick and shovel and commenced to dig, but the sun was warm and the shovel hurt his hands, so he had to come back many times to rest on the edge of the fountain. "Oh dear!" cried the most beautiful princess in the world. "Why doesn't the nice prince with a warm, crinkly smile get up and do something? While he is sitting there in the sun, the handsome glittery prince will get to the spring all dammed up, and will think, have I done this enough? I don't know. Okay, let me skip to the end. And so the very next day, the most beautiful prince in the world married a sensible man, and the frowny fairy godmother had a great deal to say about the next morning at the breakfast table. You knew that was coming, didn't you?